Thanks so much for joining today's RightTraining session on automating client and onboarding with the data import feature. We're really excited about this update. It makes it easier than ever for advisors coming from eMoney to move client data directly into RightCapital. With our new OCR-powered report scanner, you can now upload a client report and have RightCapital automatically recognize and organize key details all within a few clicks. This means less manual entry, fewer errors, and a much faster transition when bringing your client plans over from eMoney. This is a big step forward in helping advisors save time, simplify onboarding, and start building value in RightCapital even faster. In today's session, we'll start with a quick walkthrough of how to upload and review a report. Then we'll explore how the data populates within your client plan. And finally, we'll wrap up with a few best practices just to make sure you get clean and accurate results every time you utilize this feature. Before we get started, though, just a couple of housekeeping notes. This session is being recorded, and you will receive a copy of the webinar recording after the webinar is completed to your inbox. And then lastly, we will have a Q&A session at the end, so feel free to drop any questions you have into the Q&A Zoom control panel down below, and I will make sure to cover as many as I can at the end of the webinar. But alrighty, let's dive right into it and take a look at how the PDF import can help you streamline your workflow in RightCapital. The first step is going to be finding where we can do the import. So to find the area to complete the import, we're going to navigate to our More menu along the top here, this 3 dots icon, and then I'm going to click on Integrations. We are going to notice our integration partners now is including a drop-down box where we can find data import. Here is where we will land on our eMoney PDF report. So at this time, we're focusing on eMoney PDF reports, and the data import is going to allow us to upload those reports. Once you make it to this screen, we'll click on Upload Report in the upper corner here. And I do have one uploaded so I can show you what the upload looks like. But let's go ahead and click into Upload Report. It's going to ask you to select a file from your computer. I am going to just upload one to show you what the upload looks like by dragging one in from my recent downloads. From this screen now, once the system recognizes that you've uploaded a report, it's going to ask you if you want to import this into a new household or import this into an existing household. So you can import eMoney PDF reports into existing households should you have created the client in RightCapital already. For right now, I'm going to import this into a new household and I'm going to click Upload. The system from here is going to automatically scan the file and parse the data into the plan format. Once the system is done processing, and it can take a moment, again, the system is working to figure out where data should be mapped, so it might take a moment. But once the processing is complete, we now will notice we have this awaiting review exclamation point here for us, and we can click into awaiting review. This is going to show us how each category from the eMoney report has been recognized. The data is organized into the main sections of family, goals, incomes, savings, expenses, properties, insurances, and other assets. So all of this information is going to be pulling in from that report. Just to show you what this looks like, we can click into these specific items to see what this is going to look like within RightCapital. In this case, we have the retirement ages, and we can see it's pulling from the report the respective retirement ages for the client and the co-client. We can also look at this financial goal, for example, of buying an RV. If we click into this, we can see this is purchasing or feeding in as a lifestyle goal for that RV purchase. You can select the items that you want to include in the plan. Anything you don't want to include in the import can be left unchecked. I'm going to go ahead and select everything in this case. However, like I said, if there are items that you don't want to include in RightCapital, you can leave them unchecked and they will not be included in the import. This review step is crucial because it ensures that all of the client data has been captured correctly before finalizing the import. But once we've gone through and taken a look and included all the items that we wanted to bring into Right Capital from the report, we can then click on the import button. This is going to then format everything within a Right Capital plan based on the information that we just reviewed. So from this screen, we see it's created the client, Joe Jones. We see here the import status is completed. We can always rename this should we want to with the 3 dots in a circle, or delete it if that is something we're looking to do. And then when it comes to opening up the client plan, now that we've successfully completed the import, we can utilize this arrow feature to open up the client plan so we can fully review what the data looks like now that it's in Right Capital. We can see here it's going to format us into that initial 6-step data entry just to allow us to review all of the items that have imported over. We can see here the client and co-client information have fed through. We can open up the client information here, and we can see it looks very similar to the typical Right Capital data entry, except the items are filled out for us, which is very nice. You can continue to add additional manual information if there's something not included in the report that you would like to include. So just because you've imported something doesn't mean you can't come back in and add additional items if needed. I'll go ahead and click next just to show you as well the income coming over. We had a series of incomes generating from the report, and we can see here investment income is pulling through as an other income card. We can click into this information. We can always make adjustments if needed. However, the system did scan that report and pulled it in for us automatically. We have annuity income pulling through here as well. And again, just clicking into this to give you some visuals of how this information is feeding in from the system based on the report scanner. Fantastic. So we can review this information. You can always add additional incomes using the Add Income button in the upper corner here. Go ahead and click Next. We can see the savings pull over as well for each respective savings type. We have IRA information, Roth IRA, 401k, 403b, and taxable accounts. We could see this information has fed through from the report, distinguishing the specific account type. So really, again, cutting down on that data entry. Add additional savings if needed. I'm sure you're getting the hang of that by now. Clicking in and making adjustments if needed as well. Let me hit the X here. I'll go ahead and click Next. Net worth information. We have our properties that have pulled over. And I will touch on a little bit later what information pulls over specifically from the net worth and how the mapping works. So when we're finished reviewing here, I'll go into those specific details as well. But of course, we can see the information pulling through from the property information that was included in the report. The location has pulled through, property tax and maintenance information, appreciation information, the title, the value. So all things that we would have to enter manually have now been entered for us. Same thing with insurances being pulled over. If there's a cash value associated to it, we'll see that display as well. Expenses get pulled over. We can see here living, medical, other expenses, again, pulling over from the report. Taxes and fees is the same, and you can add other expenses as well. Now I know I'm going through this a little slowly, but just to show you how similar things look once we've imported it, we can really see how this information pulls over. You can compare it to your e-money report as you're looking, just to ensure that everything has gone through correctly. But I just wanted to really take some time and show the way it displays in Right Capital. We can see the college goals display here, vacation, purchasing the RV that we looked at, right? That pulled over as that other goal for that $90,000 amount. Home improvement, cars, wedding goals. So all the different goals that we can enter in the system here. Let's see, I do see a question pop through in the Q&A quickly. If this is only for e-money reports, I just want to clarify at this time, this is going to be just for e-money reports. The product development team is looking into similar reports from other softwares. As we get more information on that, we'll be sure to update and let you all know. But for right now, this is going to be that e-money report specifically. Once the initial data entry is reviewed, we can click complete. This is going to launch us into our typical RightCapital software. And then from here, we can go through and complete additional planning, go in and do our what if scenarios over in retirement analysis, build out tax strategies, and utilize the software as needed. Really quickly, I'll just back out here and show you one more time where we're able to do this. This is going to be in our three dots icon or our more menu along our advisor portal, integrations, and then we'll click on integration partners and select data import. Fantastic. All right, so now that we've imported the data into the client plan, we've gone through this process, we've seen how it's organized. It is important to understand how the plan behaves after the import. So I have some visuals here in a slide deck. Allow me to adjust my screen share here, and I'll pull that up just to go over some specific file requirements, as well as some nuanced details with our report. Let's see here. And bear with me just a moment as I get this pulled up. Fix my screen share. Alrighty, so I believe you all can see my slide deck here, just touching on some of the post-upload notes here. I really want to emphasize that once the import is completed, the client plan is not linked to that original e-money report. This means that as an advisor, you can upload additional reports for the same client in the future. For example, if there have been updated changes made in eMoney and we want to bring those over to RC, you can upload additional reports and apply them to that existing client plan in the system. It's important to keep in mind, however, if we do upload multiple reports, it is possible that the system will create duplicate entries if the same data is included multiple times. So if you are uploading multiple reports, be sure to leave items unchecked in that waiting review period, so that way we're not uploading duplicate items and potentially creating duplicate entries within the system. It's a very important thing to note here. I also want to just touch on a few key points to remember about how those updates behave. So if you are to upload a new report, our pre and our post-retirement living expenses cards will only be overridden if the existing value in RightCapital is 0. So if you've uploaded a report previously and those living expenses are $6,000 a monthly, for example, and then you upload a new report and the new report is an $8,000 monthly expenses for pre and post-retirement, the system is not going to override that previous $6,000 living expense. So something to pay attention to, unless we have pre and post-retirement living expenses set to 0, the system will not override the new expenses if we upload a new report. On the flip side, looking at retirement age, and these are big ones, so I just wanted to point these two out. If we do upload a new report that updates the retirement age, the system will update automatically the new retirement age. So if you uploaded one report where they're retiring at 65, and then you upload a second report where they're retiring maybe at 62, the system will automatically override that previous retirement age. So it will override retirement age. It will not override pre and post-retirement living expenses unless the pre and post-retirement living expenses are already set to 0. I also want to touch on the information that pulls in for our net worth information. So at this time, business assets, bank accounts, credit cards, investments are not included in the OCR import. these are items that are still going to be managed through the integrations or managed manually within RightCapital. So I will touch on integrations in a minute and pulling over position level data and client information. But at this time, the OCR import is just going to focus on that other information, and it's not going to pull in investment accounts, bank accounts, or credit cards. Alrighty, and then before we move on here as well, I also want to touch on those file requirements just to make sure the upload goes smoothly. If we don't have the right file type, it's going to say unrecognized, and we want to avoid that as much as possible. So when using the import, RC relies on some specific sections within the report to accurately identify and map the client data. Each eMoney report is going to need to include both the table of contents and the family information detail sections. If either of those are missing, the report will show as unrecognized and won't process properly. Beyond that, there's just a few key guidelines to keep in mind. The file must be in PDF format. PDF format is the only file type that's supported at this time, so please ensure that your report is in a PDF. We also need the report to be complete, so a blank report or a sample file will be rejected. There is only one report per upload, so you have to upload one report at a time. If you're trying to only upload one report, then just ensure to combine multiple pages into a single PDF before uploading. And then lastly here, we just want to make sure they're high quality files. So for best results, either uploading a digital PDF directly from the scan or a clear, legible scan would give us the best results here. Following these steps will just ensure that the scanner can read the data correctly and pull it into RightCapital without any issues. So I just wanted to touch on those file requirements. And then once you've confirmed those details, you're ready to upload the report. And from there, I also want to touch on how the system organizes that data and how the mapping works. So just pivoting in terms of subject matter here, let's take a closer look at how some of the details regarding the data transfer works exactly. So it is really helpful to understand how the mapping works. Items aren't always categorized the same way as they are in RightCapital. So to make the import process as smooth as possible, we did make some assumptions on the expense type variable. This is going to determine whether an item will flow into RightCapital as a goal or as an expense. I think this is important to touch on so you can fully anticipate and expect how the data is going to flow into the system. I took some screenshots from the report here so we can see different goals and expenses in the system. And I wanted to note here the expense type. So each expense is going to have its specific expense type, and that's going to help RightCapital categorize that in the system. So now you know where to find the expense type and that information. I want to bring you to this mapping chart here. This is going to show how each expense type is going to transfer into RightCapital and whether it's going to be a goal or an expense. So again, based on that expense type that the item is categorized as within the report is going to indicate if it's pulling in as an expense or a goal within RightCapital. Again, I just think it's important to touch on this so we can understand what to expect when mapping the data over and how the system is going to treat each item. So we can see the specific expense type here: celebration, elder care, other, family support, margin account, note payable, and other qualified medical gifts are all going to pull in as expenses. Alimony will pull in as an expense. We can see here major purchases, giving and philanthropy, new goals, retirement homes, and education goals or education expenses will all pull in as goals as well. There are some other ones like a wedding goal, which will also pull in as a goal. Pretty straightforward, but these are some of the nuanced ones that I just wanted to touch on so we can fully understand exactly how this is working from behind the scenes. But fantastic. All right, let me pop back into RightCapital here just so we can touch on some other items for today. Pull my share back up. Bear with me just a moment. Sorry for the awkward silence there. Here we go. All right, so we've gotten some information regarding how to upload the report, how to review the information, right, by checking off the specific boxes and double checking that the items are pulling over appropriately. We see how it's flown into RightCapital and we can access the client plan right from this screen. The client will also be listed out in the Clients tab. So you can find Joe Jones and open it from the Clients tab as well. And we can see how that information pulls into RightCapital. We've gotten some background on how the mapping works. You will get a recording of that after the webinar. So if anybody's curious and wants to go back to that, you will have access to it. This is all going to streamline that data entry workflow. Now, we've talked about the eMoney OCR import feature. I also want to shift gears and talk about our other powerful way to streamline your data entry process, and that's going to be via integrations, which I touched on is going to pull in that position level account data for investments, bank accounts, and cards. For anybody who's not familiar with integrations, integrations can be found, again, more menu here, integrations, and then instead of the data import, it's going to be where we originally landed on, which is our integration partners. For anybody who's not familiar with integrations, they connect RightCapital with other tools in your advisor tech stack, things like custodians, CRMs, account aggregators, or portfolio management systems. And the goal here is to create a seamless flow of data between systems, cutting down on that manual data entry. This is going to keep everything consistent and up to date. Integrations are extremely helpful because not only do they save time, they also improve accuracy since the data comes directly from the source. That's going to minimize missing fields or typos. Most of our integrations also allow for ongoing updates. So when values or holdings change within the individual accounts, those updates will automatically sync into RightCapital. When you're going to set up an integration in RightCapital, you're going to navigate to this screen, and then from here, you're going to look at our list of integration partners. You can either search through this list, or you can utilize the search bar to find the integration partner that you're looking to connect with. Each integration process for getting the partner set up is going to look a little bit differently. For example, we're looking at this one here. It's going to provide us with a connect button. So you can click connect. It will prompt you to enter your credentials for that specific partner, and you can establish the connection right from this screen. Some other examples would be like Charles Schwab, where we can set up this integration, but instead of having that connect button where we set up the integration right from this screen, it's going to require a couple of extra steps to get that integration set up. Now, we always have the steps outlined in the integration partners tab here for how to get each integration set up. So should you run into any questions on that, you can refer to the steps here. And then we also have links at the very bottom to our help center, which is also going to outline the setup process to get these integrations set up. So everything is fully outlined for you when it comes to managing these integration partners and getting your data flowing into RightCapital on that daily sync schedule. Should you run into any issues getting your integration set up, definitely contact our support team. They are versed in integrations and can help you fill in any blanks in conjunction with the integration partner themselves, helping getting that integration set up. So together with the OCR import feature and the integrations, this can really reduce friction in that onboarding process. It's going to minimize that data entry work, improve accuracy, and then allow you to focus more on building and refining those client plans and not on entering data. Before we wrap up as well, I also wanted to take a few minutes to highlight one of the other great time-saving features in RightCapital, and that's going to be templates. Templates are a great way to bring consistency, structure, and efficiency to your workflow. They allow you to predefine settings, layouts, and views that can be applied across all of your clients. So instead of building the same pieces over and over again, you can, like the theme of this webinar, focus your time on actually planning and not on setup. Think of templates as like your digital playbook. They standardize your processes while giving you the flexibility to customize the client experience for your practice. Templates can be set up along the top banner here within the advisor portal. We have a series of template options for all sorts of items within Right Capital. You can set up report templates. So should you generate a similar type of report for all clients, you can utilize a report template so you're not constantly clicking the same boxes over and over again. We have planning access templates. This is going to allow you to control the view of what the client can see when they access their Right Capital portal. The planning access template is going to allow you to select a series of checkboxes. The checkboxes that are selected are going to be what the client has visibility to when they log in via their Right Capital portal. You can click the new template button up here. You can title the template whatever you need to keep track of it. Hit the checkbox to save the title. Check off the specific items you want your clients to see. Once you've selected those items, you can click Save, and then right from the screen, you can apply this template. You can apply it to all clients, or you can apply it to specific clients at one time using the drop down here. We also have onboarding templates. Onboarding templates are going to be the initial 6-step data entry. So with the OCR report scanner and integrations, we might not need to fully utilize onboarding templates since a lot of that data entry is going to be done for us. However, should you have your client coming in and doing specific onboarding or data entry for themselves, you can select default onboarding templates. For example, with the OCR report, we are eliminating a lot of the data entry when it comes to income, savings, expenses, and goals. So oftentimes what we can do is just set up that onboarding template to only include maybe the net worth, the vault, and the risk questionnaire. Since the net worth information is going to be pulling in from integrations, but if you don't have integration partners and you're going to have your clients do the initial data entry and fill in the net worth information, we can hide the other items from view so they're not confused that if they need to enter anything in that tab specifically, we can just remove it from their thought process overall. And so that way their only view is going to be net worth, vault, and risk questionnaire when it comes to the data entry portion. We also have snapshot templates. This is just going to allow us to organize the snapshot under the dashboard tab in a client plan. The snapshot is our fully customizable one-page report essentially of the health of a plan. You can bring in a series of widgets from probability of success to our balance sheet to allocation, tax information, stress test information, anything that is accessible from other modules within Right Capital. We can bring them in with small widgets highlighting the high points of a plan all in one spot. This is great for just organizing client presentations, organizing client plans, and really bringing the important items to the forefront, as this is going to be the first page that clients land on when they log into Right Capital if you give them access to it. We also have task templates. Task templates are super helpful if you have clients going through and logging into the Right Capital portal and maybe completing items for you. We can set up task templates to give them a structure of what items need to be completed. Here I have an example of a new client checklist. So we can see here specific items that oftentimes we need new clients to complete for us so we can have all their information entered within the system. And once we have these completed, we can apply them to our client plans and we can see the clients complete these tasks in real time. When it comes to assigning a task template, that's actually going to be done from within a client plan. And I can touch on how to do that, but you would be within the tasks tab of a client plan under dashboard. You would click add task. It's going to be a similar blue add task button. And from there, it will say assign task template. And from there, you'll have the option to select any of the task templates that you've created. We have vault templates. Vault templates are going to allow us to just organize the vault. We can create a new template here, and then we can structure our vault with specific folders. We can click add folder, And we can have different folders depending on what information we are looking for from the clients. We can look for things like tax documents, business financials, estate documents, and any sort of relevant information here. This can help us organize the vault. So if we are collecting a lot of documents from our clients, maybe we're doing late stage planning and we have a lot of estate documents, we can really organize the vault so that way we don't have a lot of disorganized files. And that way, when you're applying this to all of your client plans using this apply template button at the bottom here, we can apply it to all clients, and then each client plan is going to have a nice organized structure for the files, so we're not bouncing around and looking for potentially missing files. Everything should be in the one space that it belongs. So great for organization here. Same thing with budget categories. This is a categories template when clients are utilizing the budget module. So when they link their accounts in RightCapital via the link account button over in profile net worth, the system is going to feed in the transaction data from any account with transactions. So checking accounts, credit cards. The system is going to automatically categorize, each transaction via an expensed or an income category. A lot of times we have clients who have specific income categories or expense categories that we want to include that aren't by default included in RightCapital. You can add categories, income, expenses, or other categories. This is going to allow us to really cater specific expense categories. Say you have a specific expense that all your clients are utilizing. However, RightCapital's default does not include that expense category. You can add that expense category in the system, title it whatever would make the most sense for your specific situation. And then from here, we can apply this client template to our client plans. So that way, when data is feeding over, we can remap our transactions as necessary. And then with the smart transaction categorization, RightCapital will recognize every time that specific transaction comes through. Since we remapped it the first time, it will now map to that new budget category each time. So super helpful in terms of transaction categorization when it comes to the budget categories, and the templates again just allows us to streamline this across all client plans. We have some other templates here as well, like our estate checklist. So this is going to allow us to really highlight an estate checklist in terms of what specific information we need to get from our clients from an estate planning standpoint. So if we are looking to get their will information, power of attorney, healthcare proxy, we can even add additional sections should we want to customize the value there when it comes to specific estate documents. So we can really customize that estate checklist. This is going to allow us to apply the template as well right from this screen. And from there, we can really organize our estate checklist information. And then lastly, we just have Express templates. This is slightly different than the other templates. This is going to be for our Right Express planning. So if we have those really quick Right Express clients where we just want to do some prospecting information, we can set templates for this. This is a little bit outside of the scope of today's webinar, so I won't spend too much time here. We do have additional information on this item within the Help Center, which I can direct you to. However, this is just going to be some templating for those Right Express clients. When we're doing the OCR report, they are not Express clients, they're full planning clients. So we will not spend too much time on Express today. However, I did want to point out reports because when you're onboarding new clients, preparing for annual reviews, or building out those reports, templates can again help you save time, stay consistent, and provide a smoother client experience across all of your client plans. If you want to apply a specific template as the default for all new clients moving forward, the easiest way to do that is going to be within the three dots and client settings. We're then going to find client groups. This is going to give us a series of different client groups. Most often existing clients is going to be all new clients moving forward. This is the default group for new clients, as we can see listed out here. We have our default templates, and I'm going to click edit. Here is where we can, all of those templates we've created, We can then move them into each of the specific categories to make that the default template that clients see moving forward. So for example, that planning access template, if we gave specific clients, or if we want to give all clients specific modules to look at across the board, we can select the template that we've created so that way all clients moving forward, all new clients will get that specific template when they log into Right Capital, and their view will be consistent across the board. This is going to also apply for that estate checklist template, the onboarding template, the snapshot, the vault, and those budget categories. At the very bottom here, we have that option for the Right Express templates as well. So you can apply those templates to all clients moving forward, should you want to streamline that process as well. So really great functionality, and I did want to touch on templates since it does seem to fit in line with that OCR report scanner, and just completing that data entry quicker, getting the clients to a cohesive and consistent view within the plans. So fantastic functionality there that all ties in really nicely. But alrighty, so just to wrap up, we walked through everything you need to know about that OCR import feature. We also looked at how the data is reviewed and mapped, whether it's goals and expenses. We touched on how integrations can help streamline that data entry process as well from a net worth standpoint. And then we touched on templates for our workflow efficiency. So the main takeaway here is that the goal is to save you time and reduce manual data entry as much as possible.